and welcome to this first chapter of ForSense. My name is Amilcar and I am a sci-fi and fantasy author. In this first chapter, we will begin by analyzing from a storytelling perspective the first episode of Star Trek Starfleet Armada. I must make it clear that I am not a vast expert on the Star Trek universe, so I will analyze this first episode from the point of view of the plot, character introduction, and as a standalone product that aims to attract a new group of viewers and fans to the Star Trek universe. So, let's begin. Of an event called The Burn. As someone who has absolutely no idea about the canon or continuity of Star Trek, I found it uncomfortable and annoying that they don't explain, even in a few brief words, what it is or what is the meaning of that term. I assume it's some kind of catastrophe because of the explosion they show, accompanied by the mention of the event itself, but yeah, I really don't know, so yeah, it's a little annoying. The story begins with a mother and her son. Here there is already one detail I can't overlook and that really bothers me. From what I researched, this series is set in the 32nd century, specifically around the year 3191. So, why the hell would a child have a teddy bear robot? Wouldn't it be more logical, considering the absurd, the insane amount of numbers of planets out there, for this robot to be, I don't know, something more like an object, or if it's an animal, some kind of alien one? Clearly a lack of logic and imagination. After that, the story continues and explains how Nis Braga, together with Aisha Mir, committed a crime for which they will be sentenced. This event leads to the separation of the child from his mother. Up to this point, everything is fine, but after the mother and child are separated, the latter is taken to a room where Nala Ake, the one responsible for sending the mother to a rehabilitation camp, tries to comfort the child. With a hugging gesture, he steals a kind of, transmitter she was wearing on her chest, which is already absurd in itself because she didn't notice. She leaves the room, and then the 6-year-old boy used the transmitter to open a window that was in the place. First, how the hell did a child know what to steal and how to use it? But beyond that, outside of the place there is one of those massive sandstorms like those from Dune, that forced all aircraft to avoid flying. So, can someone tell me how it is possible for a 6-year-old child with no survival equipment, with nothing, to jump out of the window, practically into the void, and survive? At this point in the story, believe me, all logic and common sense have completely left the room, and that's for sure. After these mysterious events, 15 years pass. The child, now a 20-year-old young man named Caleb Mir, is taken as a prisoner for multiple charges. In a rather questionable fight scene, he takes control of the ship, and here again we have to ignore absolutely any possible logic. He orders the prison transport ship computer to perform a search. Wouldn't it be expected that the computer of a bloody prisoner transport ship wouldn't accept voice commands from strangers? For example, that would be logical in case like this. As a consequence of the scuffle, the ship loses control, and here something happened that can only be explained with magic, because in order to understand this TV show, we need to believe in magic. The exterior shot of the ship showed it spinning like a frisbee out of control, but inside, everyone is practically lying on the floor. I've seen car accident scenes with more realism than this, because even when the ship crashes with a fucking mountain, inside the ship, everyone go almost comfortable. It's absolutely insane the lack of logic and common sense that this has. What I mean is, in an accident like that, they should be getting pulverized against the walls and floor with all their bones and flesh turned into a mass. But no, no one of that happens because the writers are interested in being coherent. They are only interested in explosions and shiny scenes to pat themselves on the back for how great their action scenes are. And the cherry of the top, and this is crazy, when Caleb regains control of the ship, he yells in excitement as he had been, driving a Ferrari in a European highway at 200 kilometers. He's not disoriented, not dizzy, not concussion, nothing at all. He's just perfect. It was simply a ride on a damn roller coaster for him. And after this, a tractor beams tell him he'll be detained and taken to a rehabilitation. I assume that the tractor ship knows he hijacked the vessel because he sent a tracking order. In that case, if he took control of the ship, given his background as a criminal and all the things that he did in his past, and because he has a lot of charge, it could be logical to think that he murdered the crew. And in that case, wouldn't it be logical in a situation like that to simply destroy the ship instead of capturing it? God, this has absolutely no fucking sense. And that's how this great adventure called Star Trek Starfleet Academy begins. The next scene takes us to Captain Nala, who explains how she feels about having separated a mother and her son. With this scene, the only thing I have to say for now is that I must congratulate the ice cream industry because despite being the 32nd century and having access to products from the entire universe, people still choose ice cream in a cone as a dessert. Nala was reluctant to take a position in the Federation again, but when they tell her that they found Caleb, she immediately accepts. Right after, she goes to see him in a detention center, aware of all the charges against the child who is now an adult. He recognized her immediately, which is absurd considering 15 years have passed and he only saw her for a few minutes. But despite her being the person responsible for separating him from his mother and causing the miserable life that he led, he speaks to her normally, like talking to an old acquaintance. There is no anger, frustration, rage, nothing, absolutely nothing that one would expect in such a situation. On the other hand, she knows nothing about him beyond the fact that he's a criminal, and despite that, she speaks to him not only with a total naturalness and naivety, but in a tone as she were an aunt scolding her nephew for not obeying his mother. Her attitude does not match that of a person carrying the guilt of having separated a child from his mother and who led her to resign from her position as captain, much less as she defines herself, a captain who resigned in disgrace. And the worst of all this is that Caleb is a criminal with multiple charges, including hijacking a prisoner ship, and even so, she wants to recruit him for the academy. A criminal. Really? How is this possible? How could this person with such a naive attitude have been a high-ranking officer is absolutely insane. It's impossible for someone with such a candid view of the world to have risen to a position of power like that. It's just insane, fucking sane. On the other hand, the character of Caleb isn't much different, since apparently in this series everyone is retarded and naive. Nala tells him that his mother escaped a year ago from prison, and he believes her almost immediately. To the woman to, I don't know, betray him? How is it possible that someone so gullible has survived as a criminal, as a thug, for 15 years? Someone who lived what he has and how he has should be expected to be manipulative, distrustful, someone who used others to his advantage because he should have developed those kind of tools to survive. And here I'm going to make a parenthesis to explain the later. In psychology, there is something called survival tools, and as the name suggests, they are automatic strategies that the brain and psyche develop, especially in childhood, to protect themselves and survive emotionally and difficult, negligent, and abusive environments or with insecure attachment. Based on this, Caleb by no means should act the way he acts toward Nala. Strictly speaking, he should be something more, I don't know, like Riddick from the movie of the same name, taking in consideration what he did on the prison ship. But yeah, anyway, let's continue with the story. After all this, Caleb and Nala head to the academy. In that place, the story introduce the character called number 1, whose name is Lura Thok, who first thing does is assert her authority by yelling and ordering to Caleb. The absurd part of all this is that it's known that Caleb is a thug guy, a survivor. But at her first shoot, he obeys and drops to the floor to do push-ups. Once again, make it fucking sense. The characters' actions don't match their backstory. They don't. Both his response and Nala's gesture, while witnessing the scenes have absolutely no logic taking in consideration their backgrounds. Absolutely no sense. Not at all. After all this comedy sketch, or let's call it that way, the show introduced more characters who will presumably be the cast. Some of them with the most absurd introductions, like, for example, I don't know, the girl who ate her communicator. But here I want to make another parenthesis. I'm not going to criticize the state or physical condition of the cast because that's not my problem. What I'm going to criticize is that in a universe set in the 32nd century, there are still people with overweight. It's supposed that there should be food that have the same taste as, I don't know, sweets, candies, highly calorical things, but with the minimum level of calories or with the nutritional requirements for each individual. Because at the end of the day, you can trick your brain. Actually, there are some seeds that can that if you ate that seed and then you try something, that seed change the taste of that product, that food, because it hijack your brain and make it think that there is the taste is different. I don't know, you can eat a lemon and you can taste it sweet. So my point is, in the 32nd century, there should be products that can trick your brain to make it think that you are eating something different, the taste is different, but the nutritions are the one that you need, are the one that your body requires. So, according to this, it has absolutely no sense that in the future you have people with overweight. It doesn't make sense. Absolutely not. And I am talking just about the technology. As I say, I don't care if the cast is fat or not. I'm talking about logic according to the universe that we are talking about. Regarding the speech, I have some criticism. But before that, there is a detail I couldn't overlook. And yes, I know it's cherry picking, but at this point, there are so many stupid details that I can let this one pass. Why does one of the robots stop and lift its head to look toward the monitor where Nara is talking and listening when she speaks for the first time? Shouldn't the message or the content of the message be projected internally into its system? It's a robot. Shouldn't it have multiple processors that allow it to receive a message and process it without having to stop attending to its normal duties? I mean, it's my computer, my PC can do many tasks at the same time, and I don't need to have the task in the first page, because there are processes that are running in the background. It's the same principle. And regarding Nala's speech, some of you are the first of your species, some the last. I'm going to assume that she's referring to the first and the last sent to a Federation Academy for X reasons, because otherwise this will be a stupid sentence, since if it refers to them being the first created of a species and the last survivors of a species, it will imply that the first were explicitly created for that task, go to the academy, which is not insane, it's stupid. And that the second one are so retarded that instead of finding a way to extend or perpetuate their species, they are playing at going to school. It's just insane. And besides that, she's a fucking command officer and gives a speech while pacing around. What the hell? Absolutely no professionalism. Zero professionalism. As I say, and I insist, what the hell? Is she a 400-year-old woman or a 15-year-old teenager? Once again, zero professionalism. How the hell she take a seat on the on the commander's seat in that way? She's supposed to be an officer, a bloody officer, not a teenager. This is insane. It's just anyway. Introduction of new characters. There is a girl called Sam. She speaks in Italian, but she doesn't know what a handshake is. This is absolutely insane. Everyone in the damn series has shaken hands, and for some reason, for absolutely no reason at this point, she doesn't know what a handshake is. What's more, she acts like she asks things like, what's your favorite restaurant on earth? And she's never been there. Meaning, anyone could tell her anything and she will know. Because she has no way to know because she has never been there. A fucking mentally retarded person. And I want to make a rich about the background, the backstory. Sorry, of this character. They explain this topic later, but I prefer to mention it now. She's a living hologram, so she was programmed with the age of a 17 years old girl. In this regard, I have no criticism because in many sci-fi series, mainly in manga and anime universe, there are androids or cyborgs that are programmed as a teenagers, because their creators see them as their children and therefore prefer them to have what could be considered a normal life. That's why that detail doesn't bother me at all. But there's a huge difference between being a program that emulates a 17 years old girl and being an 8 years old retard. And she's the second one. Although I find the supposed dispute to continue with the character introduction was forced and lacking sense. I can accept it, but that's my opinion. Anyway, what I can't accept are two details. First, the doctor appears saying that everyone has high catecholamine levels. Catecholamine. There are easily in that scene, like 6 to 8 different races from different planets across the universe. And absolutely all of them have the same hormonal system as humans? So, are you going to tell me that the characteristic of the respective planets that led them to adapt phenotypically only did that to make them look different, but their adaptation didn't imply that their internal biology was different? That's just insane. And second, and I insist, this is the fucking 32nd century. And there is someone who used binoculars to watch birds. Fucking binoculars to watch fucking birds. In a vast universe with infinite creatures, absolutely alien technology. And they use binoculars to watch birds. Really? Continuing with the first plot. We had Khalib, who touched a screen. He go to a room, he touched a screen, and automatically he hacked the program. So he ordered the computer to tell him where his mother was, or he introduced some kind of code to look for his mother and looking if there was some kind of message for him. There was no message, so he started recording a message. He's in the middle of this message that he's sending, and he's just saying something normal, nothing like something like I miss you. I can't remember right now. But the thing is, he was saying these words, and the character of Genesis enters to the room, and she suddenly knows that he has hacked the system. He was not there when he magically hacked the computer. She just hear him send him a message to his mother, and she already know that he hacked the fucking system. How is this possible? Now are you gonna tell me that this character is, I don't know, have some kind of mental powers, or she can read the future, or what the hell? This, as I said, this has no sense. This is one of the most stupid TV shows that I have ever seen in my whole life. And after that, The next scene, really, the writers committed an act of stupidity of epic proportions. Nala is slumped in the captain's chair wearing glasses. It's the future, and she's wearing glasses. And she's reading a hardcover book. A hard fucking cover book. Next to that comes the attack scene where the ship is partially destroyed, and amid all chaos, Sam appears and say hi. In the middle of the destruction, you have people over the floor everywhere, a lot of injuries, and she say like hi, like nothing happens. I really don't understand, nor do I know who the hell comes up with this stupidity and anticlimactic dialogues. Really. And if that weren't enough, Caleb responds, hi, like we are having fun. This is fun. This is just this is I don't know, a theater show or something like that. And as I said, all of this while injured, maybe some dead, they don't know, but they stop to greet each other politely because in agrees that that's the most important thing. It's not ensuring survival. It's not to help others. No. It's to be polite. It's the courtesy. Fuck, this is so stupid. And now, oh god, this is so stupid. A communication comes in, and it turns out to the attacker it's Nusbraka, appearing as an holographic projection with the particularity that he's an hologram that avoids touching solid things. What's more, he walks carefully across the bridge because, as everyone knows, holographic transmissions cannot pass through structures. And for her part, Nala is by far the worst captain in existence. She behaves more like a 15-year-old teenager than a 400-year-old captain, a 400-year-old officer in command. And worse still, she entrusts completely security and the lives of the entire fucking crew of the ship to a perfect stranger like Caleb. At the other end, and in the meanwhile, on the other end of the ship, number one is bleeding out. The different characters that are in the scene have the most retarded comments that anything or anyone who could have conceived. And why I say anything? Because at this point in the story, the writers have stopped being someone to become something, because it's the only way that I have to explain this level of plot stupidity. This is the most absurd and cringe dialogues that I have here ever. At this point of the story, the ship is under the control of some kind of virus, and Caleb appears with a solution to the ship problem. Sam offers help, he rejects her, and Genesis intervenes so that Caleb lets Sam help him. And I wonder, how the hell does Genesis knows Sam's skills? They talked for a couple of minutes and she already knows everything about her. Not to mention that the fact that when she met her, she realized she didn't even know what a handshake was. So, why should she be sure of the capabilities, of the skills, regarding anything. Once again, the writers are forcing the plot so the story can continue against all logic. To carry everything out faster with Calip's plan, he needs a sample of active matter, and the only way is to scan it on the surface of the ship. There is this Cayonian guy who says that he can withstand temperatures below minus 271 Celsius and a pressure up 7,000 pounds. Everything is fine with this, but my question is, what the hell does that have to do with the conditions outside the ship? It took me only 20 seconds to search on Google to know that the temperature of a body begins to drop after a couple of hours. That means that the main problem outside of the ship is not the temperature, it's not the pressure, it's the lack of oxygen. And this Cayonian guy, he goes out without a helm, without something to breathe, without no oxygen. And he's doing okay. He's even talking. He's talking in the space with his normal student suit with the student clothes, and he has no problem sending a message. And I'm watching this, and my mind is just going crazy because absolutely nothing of this has sense. Nothing. And the writers are so damn retarded that they have to invent this pseudo-sacrifice to generate affection from the audience toward this character, the Cayonian guy. This is absolutely a garbage series. Really, this is trash. Anyway, Calib is about to regain control of the ship, and Braca just teleported behind him with a weapon. And I was wondering, if Braca can appear behind Calib this way, why he didn't do this with a full party, heavy armored, heavy weapon, with all the artillery? Why he didn't appear, or he get teleported into the bridge, the command bridge, and he killed everyone there, because he find out that they lied to him. So why he didn't just kill the captain and the crew and everyone? It was the most the easiest thing to do in order to take control of the bloody ship. A military squadron on the bridge will be far better option than he just appearing behind Calib. It was the most logical decision, because he's supposedly to be a criminal, a savage guy. But no, instead of do that, he just decided to appear behind Calib and say, "Oh, you lied to me. You are like, what the hell, man? What the hell?" And after that, they start fighting, and Calib regains control of the ship, and in an act of zero morality, Nala orders the destruction of Braca's ship. Wasn't it logical for a captain, for an officer to negotiate with the invader, with Braca, about what's going on to happen, instead of that, she just murdered the entire crew of Braca's ship. Braca, he wanted just to steal the ship to sell it by parts. And he even gave them the option to leave the ship because he didn't want to kill everyone inside the ship. But on the other hand, she was acting like a real villain. And not to mention the response of the entire fucking bridge crew with all the fucking responses, dialogues in the most, it's the most cringe. Some of them were, I was like, how is possible that an adult in this situation could say something like that? On the other hand, what the hell would the enemy ship explode? Didn't it have shields up as one would expect in a situation like that? And on the other thing, apparently, Caleb and Braca were fighting the whole time next to an escape pod. Meaning, that this means that the computer where Caleb was hacking the main system, where he was trying to access to the ship's system, was next to a very conveniently left escape pod, which in turn was conveniently used by Braca to escape after the explosion of his ship. And when he escaped, why didn't they capture him? He's in a escape pod. Why did they didn't capture him? If Nala destroyed his ship, what did it cost her to capture him or destroy him if he was in a bloody pod? And on the other hand, how is he going to survive without food and water in space, without sending communication or help request to anyone? Because one will expect that the whole Federation will be looking for him for trying to hijack and steal a Federation ship. Absolutely no sense. And to finish this episode, after all these stupid events, because there is no other word to describe this string of mishaps called plot, they arrive at Earth, particularly to San Francisco. Here there is a scene that I couldn't overlook. The camera pulls back and shows the Golden Gate Bridge. I will understand keeping the bridge as a museum piece, but why the hell is there a vehicle crossing the bridge? It's supposed to be the 32nd century. Why are there vehicles that need a bridge to cross from point A to B? They have teleports, they have spaceships, and there are people who decided to keep using cars to cross the bridge? Really? This to make no sense whatsoever. As a final corollary, towards the end of the episode, they talk again about the burn. After researching on Google, I realized that this event is one of the biggest stupidities I have been able to read about in my fucking life. A plot worthy of someone with 3-4 parts of their brain removed. Seriously. The screenwriter and plot writers are a bunch of monkeys. I take it back. I think that a bunch of monkeys could write something with more coherence than this. Anyway, that's been all for this first chapter of ForSense. If you liked the video, give it a like, share, and subscribe to the channel so you stay tuned for the plot analysis or the next episode. See you next time.